Three, two, one, ghost. Hi, everyone. Welcome to 321 Ghost. I'm your host, the Wicked Witch of the West Coast, Natalie. And with
Ew.
me, as always, is Kyle. Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I love great first. And I first of all, welcome back. What's up? Um, for some reason, I keep wanting to say Wicked Host of the West Coast. That also
Hmm.
sounds pretty good. I
I kind of
like
like
that.
that too.
Yeah. I you have this very like, hello, welcome to 321 Ghost. It's very soothing.
Thank you.
Whereas like I feel like I'm all like, hey everybody, welcome to the show. How's it going?
No, I think you're exactly the same way. Very soothing.
Oh, thank you.
We're both wonderful, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, there we go. Trying to hype each other up. Hey, Natalie.
Hi. Okay, so we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of waiting till the end of the year, because we only got half of a year really last
Yeah.
year, we're going to do a mid-year review of all the new releases that we've watched since we don't talk about new releases.
It's harder to do because I try to watch the movies at least twice. And yeah, I don't have that sort of income to be sitting in a theater scribbling and stuff, scribbling in the dark. Um,
Yeah,
having to watch movies multiple times. So but I also know that people want to hear about movies,
of course.
so we got to offer that, right?
Of course. So I have to give a shout out to all of the horror podcasters and content creators that do watch these movies in theaters multiple
Hmm.
times because I see you all on Instagram and TikTok and all the things. And I can't believe how many movies and how much media everyone is able to consume. I told you this. It takes me years to form an opinion on a movie. So I think I'm gonna be pretty harsh.
And sometimes, now that we've been doing this for at least, just about a year now, sometimes people will ask, like, oh, hey, have you seen this movie? Or hey, have you seen this
Yeah.
new movie? And I'm like, no, I had to watch Puppet Master 3 times. I don't have that time. But lo and behold, I tried to do a really good job of making sure that I was also watching new releases as we went on. Not even necessarily the ones I
Yeah.
was super stoked on and super
Same.
anticipating, but trying,
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to keep it spoiler free. So if we do say anything that is spoilery accidentally, Kyle is going to edit it out for us.
definitely.
That's going to be the rules. So the reason being is because we're going to talk about a variety of movies and we don't want to ruin it for anybody. But I think we can still share hot takes without spoiling things.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got a bullhorn sound effect that I'm just going to start putting over any potential spoiler. But that'll all be in post, so don't worry about it.
That's perfect. I'm so excited to hear that. Okay. So be honest. How have you been feeling about 2024 for horror so far?
Okay. This might be my first hot take of the night
Go.
because I actually think it's been a pretty good year. And I've been listening to some other horror podcasts talk about this year and saying that it's been pretty mid, pretty, not that overwhelming. And like, don't get me wrong, you certainly have your movies that are fucking clunkers. Some of them I haven't even seen, so I'm not even going to talk shit on them.
Hmm.
And you also have, I would say, at least a couple high profile horror movies, very high profile horror movies that really did not meet expectations at all.
Hmm.
Or at least at best, I think had a very divided audience reaction, So I get
Yeah.
that. But even the movies that there's a lot of division on, I'm gonna lean more positive on. And we'll talk. I'm sure we'll bring them up as we go through.
Yeah.
So, but then there's some movies where like that really have still sat with me that I really connected with. I think we have a couple great movies in here too. I can think of at least three off the top of my head,
Yeah.
like bona fide great movies that are horror that came out this year. So I don't know. I don't get the hate necessarily, but I feel like it's good. I'd give it a solid B minus, maybe like a B.
Oh, now we're doing letter grades. I wasn't prepared for that.
Should I give the first half its own boost score?
Yeah, the first half of the year, its own boost score. No, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think what you said totally explained it for me. It's been a very like divisive year. I feel like there hasn't been like a movie where everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Everyone needs to see this" type of thing. And maybe that's just because there's been a few that have gotten high praise that I haven't liked. But I feel like there's actually been pretty mixed response to like movies that a lot of people were anticipating to be their favorites. So
Yeah.
that can be a little bit disappointing when like most of the group and like the horror world isn't like in agreement like that this was a great year so far, but it's okay. So I think a lot of the movies that we've both watched probably overlap, so I want to hear what movies you've watched this year.
The 10 movies that I've seen this year that are horror, that I think, the ones that I think will warrant a real good discussion here. Um, I don't think this is in order, or it might be.
In release order?
Yeah.
Okay.
So first one I saw this year was Out of Darkness. I also saw Stop Motion, Late Night with the Devil, Lisa Frankenstein, Abigail, Night Swim. So it's not in order. In a
Mhm.
Violent Nature, Maxine, Long Legs, and I saw the TV Glow, which I'm counting in this group because it says horror, so I'm calling it horror. It's
Mm,
categorized as horror, so I'm going to call it that. But those are the
okay.
10 I've seen. How about you?
Okay, we have a lot of overlap. I put them in alphabetical order because I didn't remember or care to look up release dates. So I watched 9 new movies. So I have seen Abigail, In a Violent Nature, Late Night with the Devil, Lisa Frankenstein, Long Legs, a lot of L's.
Yeah. And jumping right from A to I.
Yeah, right?
Mm.
Maxine, Night Swim, Tarot, and Under Paris. So I think are different ones. So I haven't seen Stop Motion or Out of Darkness,
Or I saw the TV Glow.
or I saw the TV Glow. Okay.
And I haven't seen Under Paris. Though gosh, people keep talking and telling me to watch it.
I have thoughts about that one.
Yeah. And then also Tarot, which yeah, good on you.
Well, I'll watch any shark movie. Like,
Tarot's not a shark movie.
no, oh, I thought, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about Under Paris.
I haven't seen Tarot, so maybe a shark does show up at some point. I don't know.
You don't know, and I
Yeah.
won't spoil it for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna let you decide if you want to rapid fire our boo scores or if you want to go through your favorites and least favorites and share your boo scores then, and then share the ones that we didn't end up talking about in depth.
Let's save the boost scores for the end.
Okay, deal. I'm gonna let you start every category. So I want to
Okay.
know what movie was your most anticipated and did it live up to the hype in your brain, your own hype, not like all the hype on the internet, the World Wide Web, all that shit.
I would say without a doubt, Abigail was my most anticipated movie this year.
Oh.
Anyone who has listened to our episode on Ready or Not, or I probably mentioned some point Scream 5 and Scream 6.
Hmm.
Um, I I will watch anything Radio Silence does.
Have they ever done any non-horror?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, interesting.
So Ready or Not is, I would say at least, if not the best, top three horror movie in the last 25 years. I love that movie so much. Of course, obviously, I'm gonna be a little more inclined to love horror comedies, which it certainly
Hmm.
is. And and then they did the Scream movies, which, I mean, I think they're absolutely enjoyable, even if they're not great. 100% enjoyable and deserving to be a part of that canon, that series. This movie sounded fine. It was a little bit of a like, I don't know, I wasn't really stoked on the premise to begin with, and I'll blame
Hmm.
some of this on the marketing. It's just like, oh, a vampire ballerina,
Hmm.
then just like turn to the audience, isn't that wacky? And you're just like, almost, not exactly, but you're just like, I mean, I guess, like, sure, like, yeah, I want to watch this little kid jump around and eat people. And
Hmm.
and there were some parts that, I think were effective, that were very silly, and had some good use of mixing the silliness with some pretty good gore, you know.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the characters, I think, were kind of fun, pretty related, well, not relatable, but like, pretty fun. And it's seeing them react, at least for a segment of the film, I think was pretty enjoyable. And I think the cast all brought, I think, their
Mhm.
A game. Um, now I don't know, just something in the stew just didn't like work out. I don't
Mhm.
I think just leaning on that one just kind of, yep, we get it, she's a guess a Valerina, Vampirina, I don't know, ballerina
I like that.
vampire, whatever. Even though this girl did a great job, it it just didn't work. It was just too crowded. And
Yeah.
the tone it was kind of going for was a little all over the place, and the ending just kind of it all I was like, where's all this going? And once it was over, I was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, that's enjoyable. And I kind of tried to defend it a little bit to myself. And I had just watched it this past weekend. And I was like, ooh, I think I like this movie less than I watched it the
Mm.
first time. So that's really hard. Now, granted, the next Radio Silence movie, opening night, I'll be there. But yeah, that was my most anticipated. And no, it really did not hit that mark.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if Abigail would have been more fun if they did not reveal that that little girl was a vampire and they just made it look like it was like a crime or heist movie, like kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn style, where like once once they discover that she's a vampire, like us as an audience, that's when we discover she's a vampire. I don't know. I think that would have been at least fun, more fun for a first watch.
And I think it would be fun to wait, you know, 10, 5, 10, 15 years, find someone that hasn't seen it and doesn't know anything about it and show it to
Yeah.
them and see how they react. Because unfortunately, we're never going to know. Whereas, like From
Yeah.
Dusk Till Dawn, we had that experience of not knowing what the
Mhm.
fuck was happening. And then when he became vampires, sorry, I didn't say I wouldn't spoil From Dusk Till Dawn.
That's fine.
So,
It didn't come out this year. Just to be clear, we will spoil past movies.
yeah. So yeah, and we didn't get that experience. But then also, if they didn't say that she was a vampire, I think even less people would go and see that movie. And this movie kind of tanked.
Yeah, I think that is why they had to. But yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Do you want to
Yeah.
share your boost score for it? Or you
Two
want to
and a
wait to the
half.
very end? Oh, 2.5? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what I
That's what I
got.
was thinking. Maybe I'll just kind of offer up some boost
Hmm.
scores as we
As you
go
go.
through. Yeah.
Okay.
How about you?
Okay, my most anticipated, and I really don't know why, because we'll get to the like X Pearl Maxine trilogy, but my most anticipated was Maxine. And I think we're going to disagree on this one, but for me, it did not live up to the hype for many reasons. But one thing is that because I was excited about it, I do think I went into it with a pretty, I don't know, like a very critical lens when I was watching it. And I've only seen it once, but after I watched it, because I was like, oh, it was so visually stunning and I love the fashion and like I love seeing Hollywood in the 80s. I was like, oh, if this movie didn't take place in the 80s, how much would that like take it down for me? And I really feel like that was like the biggest appeal for me because when I really thought about it, I don't actually love the character of Maxine. So that was a little bit hard for me. And I feel like every character other than Maxine didn't get enough screen time for you to even really know much about them. So that was a little bit much for me. And this might be a hot take because I know everybody fucking loves riding Ty West dick, but his metaphors are so obvious. Like it feels very like it's made for people who don't understand a metaphor. Like everything is so like just on the nose. And that's starting to get old for me with him.
That's what I hate about movies in Hollywood, is because it's
Yeah.
always like, Hollywood, it's real cutthroat. You
Yeah.
just gotta do what you gotta do to make it
Yeah.
here. And you know what? If you can't get on board, like whatever. I've seen Scream 3, I know. Jesus. And I agree with you. Pause really quick. What's your Abigail Boo score?
Oh, my Abigail Boo score. Mine's actually higher than yours because I really had a fun time watching it the first time, but I'll never watch it again. I gave it a 3.5.
Okay. My Maxine Boo score is 3. I don't think you've even offered yours yet. Sorry, here I'm getting all
No.
over the place.
No, and I didn't say what I liked about it either. Because there were things that I liked. So, obviously, do I even need to say it? Kevin Bacon.
Industry legend.
Kevin Bacon could have just he could have sucked and I still would have loved him, but does he ever? He's amazing. I thought Kevin Bacon was great.
He's got a very foghorn leghorn kind of situation about him.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed Kevin Bacon. I really enjoyed one particular death in this movie, and I really enjoyed one very gory moment, which I won't spoil, obviously, but there's one moment that is like a chef's kiss type of moment in a movie. So that gave it an extra like half a boo, I'd say. So I gave it 2.5 boos.
Okay. We'll talk about that trilogy probably at some point, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just hard going into this one because X is fine. Like I do like the twist that like they're not murdering them because they're sex fiends and
Mm-hmm.
porn creators. Sorry, I'll spoil it, X. But it's because they want to fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
So I like that. But then like you get Pearl, which is like this like almost like prestige type picture,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this kind of hot air with it and all of this, blah 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 blah. And whereas and then Maxine, you're like, what are we gonna get out of this? Like where is this gonna
Yeah.
go?
Well, and that's the
And
thing. Like, it almost feels like, did he know where it was going to go? Because
right.
it doesn't feel that way.
One thing that I heard from, I think it was another podcast, they were talking about it. The difference between the first and third one and then Pearl is that Mia Goth wrote Pearl with Ty West and didn't
Hmm.
for Maxine. And I'm like, I wonder if Mia
Interesting.
Mia Goth got a little more hands-on in this third one.
Hmm.
Maybe we'd have more of a, I don't know, maybe a deeper, like more fleshed out Maxine character. And
Yeah.
I don't know. But I hear you
For how like strong of an actress she is too. Like, I don't feel like Maxine actually had that much to do, and she's fucking on screen like
a
almost
lot.
the entire film. So
Yeah.
that's my bone to pick with Maxine. I've only watched it once. Actually, I think all of these I've only watched once. So I tend to be a little bit more critical. And then sometimes when I rewatch, I like it more, but maybe the trilogy itself just isn't as great as I wanted it to be. And that's okay. I think we'll get there.
I wonder if that's how you are in other respects. Like, is that how you are with people where you're just like, ugh, I do not like you at first. And it takes a minute for you to warm up and be like, okay, fine. You're a 3 boo person.
I'm so sorry to everyone that's listening that knows me personally because I can guarantee when I met you, I fucking hated you. I will find a reason to hate everyone the first time I meet them. And then, because it's like you're a shit person until you prove to me that you're cool. And then once like I get to know you, like you get like little check marks. And I mean, obviously not Kyle. Kyle was perfect from the get-go. So
5 boo buddy.
five boos.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I am like that with people actually. Good question.
Thanks.
Okay. You said you had three that you loved, but I gave you the option of only two favorites. But if you want to say all three, I'm okay with it. I'll allow it.
Earlier on the year, Late Night with the Devil. I had so much fun with this movie. Again, I really think, just like, Barbarian from a couple years ago. I mean, even Ready or Not from a couple years prior to that. I feel like the best movies are the ones that really just kind of sneak up and are there and look great, and there's a lot of buzz around it, and then you check. I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I felt with those movies, and then with this one too. Um, it's not like genre changing or or genre
Mm-hmm.
breaking or game changing or anything by any means, but it's just like such a well done, well crafted hour and a half, with a really fantastic and but also very subdued lead performance, and
Mm-hmm.
where you really like even if you don't like love him or like him is his character, like I don't know, like you're on board,
And he feels real.
yeah. And I loved, I don't know, like just like a horror version of the Larry Sanders Show,
Mm.
and where you got all these kind of, cuts to like, when the cameras aren't rolling and everybody's like, off to the side preparing for the next segment on the
Mm-hmm.
show. Um, it wasn't like necessarily the scariest thing ever, but
No.
we've long stopped judging movies by
Yeah.
how scary they are, but I thought it fit perfectly. I really loved the mix of low budget like CG, and it fit perfectly because the movie takes
Mm-hmm.
place in like the 70s, 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just always a big fan of practical gore. And I will say
Yeah,
this year has had a couple great examples of practical gore, and I
I
really want
agree.
to shout that out, even if
Yeah.
the movies themselves aren't all super great across the
Well,
board.
that's very
So
true.
I really loved Late Night with the Devil. I've only seen it the once, so keep that in mind, grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel it's a four boo movie. I really loved it.
It's also in my favorites. It's the one favorite that I actually have, but the other favorite is just a favorite by default of Boo Score. Yeah, I really loved Late Night with the Devil. I also would give it 4 boos. Um, I agree though. It was really fun to watch it in a theater, and like I feel like the audience was like into it. So that was really fun. Like I
Yeah.
anything that like I feel like I want to know what's going on, like what's real, what's not, and like just yeah. I really enjoyed all the acting. It was not scary. You're absolutely right, but that didn't really matter. And visually it was really nice to look at. And unlike Maxine, I think that it was relevant that it took place in the 70s, and like it added to the whole, like it was relevant to the story, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, whereas like Maxine could have taken place in any decade really. So I just had to put that comparison there. But yeah, I gave that 4 boos as well, and it's also I think my favorite so far of the year.
Oh yeah. I hear that.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go through these other two are four boo movies as well.
Oh.
So like I was saying earlier, I don't know if I would call this necessarily a horror film while watching it. Yes, there's some like monsters and disturbing parts and some kind of almost like Nightmare on Elm Street type kind of weird, just dreamy sequences. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the TV Glow
Mm-hmm.
was a really profound and powerful watch for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um
What is it about? I haven't watched a trailer or anything.
So without going too much into spoiler,
Yeah.
so it is about a teenager who, comes from a complicated family, a family that doesn't understand them, and they don't have a lot of friends. Um, and then the teenager becomes friends with another kind of outcast, loner, kind of gothy type, you know. And what they connects the both of them is this TV show.
Okay.
It's very much like Disney teen shows. You know, it's about like two teenage girls that are like connected psychically, and they use their psychic powers together to stop like monsters. And then there's a big bad for each
Hmm.
season. And even like the font, like in the credits for this fake show, are exactly from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh,
Um,
fun. Oh,
and
so it
it,
actually like shows you like the show that they're watching.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And it takes place in the 90s,
Hmm.
in the late 90s. So,
Her favorite time.
right. And it's made by a trans filmmaker, and there is a lot of metaphors about the trans experience in this
Hmm.
film. But the way that it's framed in the trappings of, I don't know, I think just someone who doesn't know who they are, or maybe like, I don't know, or is feeling repressed, is
Hmm.
feeling like they can't be who they are, and to find this companionship with somebody, and especially, you know, thinking of like your relationship of like kind of like tying your happiness and your identity to this piece of media too, you know,
Hmm.
um, is something I think I certainly relate to. That really hit hard for me
Oh yeah.
watching that. And I think like what a beautiful way to use kind of those metaphors to really kind of broaden at least that experience for other people to get a kind of look into. And I really cannot say enough how much I love Justice Smith, the actor.
Mm.
um he stars in this movie. I think the first thing I ever saw him in was in Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, I like him a lot too, and I like Detective Pikachu.
He was also in that Dungeons and Dragons movie, and he's really funny in
Oh
that.
yeah, he's really good in that. Yeah. And he's great
I
in everything I've seen him in.
I would love, not that I care about like Oscars, but I'd love to see somehow he sneak in. Like I just really, he's just has such a powerful kind of a presence that's, I don't know, just also feels very relatable.
Hmm.
And he's also in The Quarry, that video game.
Oh
So
yes. Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah.
really, we've got a lot of people in movies this year that are really like trying to get their way to industry legend status, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, so that movie just really stuck with me a lot. Now it also has like a lot of really cool like practical effects, and
Mm.
very like 90s TV like practical
Hmm.
effects and like monsters and makeup, because there's a lot from that fake show. So it's like
Okay, that's fun.
very giving me like, I don't know. And even the way they talk about like, oh, well, you know, you've got your monster of the week, and then you've got your big bad, and he's involved this
Mm.
way and this and this. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just y'all talking about like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or
Yeah. So it's but
X-Files or
it's
what
not
have you.
scary, you said. It's not really
It has some harrowing moments in it though,
okay.
you know, that are really effective and really, you know, kind of fucked up. But yeah, I don't know. It was just such a beautiful movie. And I was
Mm.
like, let me include this because I loved it so much. And even though I don't know if I would call it like horror, I think it's a drama first more than anything. But if you search that movie all up and down, it'll say horror. So I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, I'll include it. But
Interesting.
four booze.
I'm gonna add it to my list of things to watch.
It is not a happy watch by any means, but also
Okay,
this
so
is,
watch it on a good day, is what you're
yeah,
saying. Okay.
yeah.
Note taken.
So my third great movie of the year. I am just gonna just line up with everybody else on that fucking hype train. Long Legs gets
I
four
knew
boos
it.
from me.
I knew it.
I think this movie again doesn't reinvent the wheel by any means, um, but in ways that I can't say, like take Silence of the Lambs, take True Detective, and just man, just give it that extra sprinkle of fucking spice, and really taking it to a next level that I think is super effective. At first, after my first watch, I was not super sure if it landed as far as the
Mm.
ending, but looking back, yes, it does. It's great and consistent throughout.
And you've seen
And
it once.
yeah,
Okay.
and Alicia Witt, come on, urban legend royalty. You know, even if I think she's maybe not the best used, I probably could have found a better actress maybe for this,
I
but she's
thought
great.
you did great.
And or maybe I just couldn't separate from like, I'm like, what do you mean? How is she playing this mom? She's a college student. And I just maybe I'm not understanding how much time has passed.
Yeah, she's older for sure. I
So
mean, they make her look a lot older, like the way that they dress her and that
right.
pale face that they put on her. Like, she definitely doesn't look like that in real life. But
And I will say, perfect usage of Nicolas Cage. I know sometimes he can
Mhm.
be
Yeah,
a
he was
lot.
great.
And I will also share additionally the scariest moment in any movie I've seen this year so far is in the first 30 seconds of that movie when
Hmm.
you are just about to see Nicolas Cage's face. I'm like, what the fuck? And it was really effective for me, and I think the movie was very strong. I will also say Micah Monroe, who some people weren't as big on, maybe her character, I thought she was fantastic. Like she's like fucking scream queen status at this point, at least between this It Follows and the next It Follows movie. I
Hmm.
like her a lot. Yeah, I think the movie was just very effective. I loved the pacing, and it was just so grim and cold and gray. And yeah, I just had so much fun with it and thought it was very effective. So Four
Hmm.
Booze, it's one of my favorites this year.
Longlegs is not on my list of favorites or least favorites, so I'll share my boo score now. I gave Longlegs 2.5 boos. I did not have the same experience. I feel like people are really loving this movie. Now, couple things. I felt the marketing really made this out to be like a movie that was going to scare the shit out of you and be like a true horror movie. And so I went into it. I watched no trailers before like seeing it, and I actually now in hindsight wish that I would have, because then I would have been expecting a thriller. I would not consider this to be horror. I'd say it's a thriller that's kind of spooky. I love Nicolas Cage. I loved Alicia Witt. I thought the movie was very good at like being full of dread and uncomfortableness. There were a lot of things that started that I wish would have went in different directions that I won't spoil, but I had all these great ideas of where things were going to go, whether they didn't go that way, but I'm not a filmmaker, so who cares? But I was really underwhelmed and I was bored when I was watching a lot of it. So maybe a hot take, probably a hot take. I feel like everyone like really loves this movie. I've only seen it once and I will watch it again. So that's a difference. But I will say this is the second time that Micah Monroe has fell flat for me. I did not enjoy her performance in It Follows, and I did not enjoy her performance in this movie. But that being said, it's not her acting. I think she's great at acting scared and invoking emotion. I think it's these two characters have something in common, and it's just this like quiet, lifeless character that I can't attach to at all. Like I'm a very loud and talkative person, so I can't relate to these women at all. So for me, like they don't feel like heroines, like they feel like just flat. So that's how I felt about Long Legs. Again, I've only seen it once. But it definitely was very like mid for me.
I I liked her and her performance because I felt like, I don't know, when you have a character who maybe again, just maybe my perspective, is very clearly on the autism spectrum,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that's meant to be the case.
it can be either kind of played for laughs or
Hmm. Which they did
is
do a little bit of
misrepresented.
that.
Some of it in the
Hmm.
like, you know, in her relationships with people,
Yeah.
and you just see how she just struggled to relate with anybody throughout this
Hmm.
movie. And I think, I don't know, I think I just felt very alone and isolated with her, you know?
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, just yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love when you and I aren't on the same page, and that's a pretty big gap for us.
Yeah, that's a big gap. I think this movie is probably the one that we probably disagree on the most. But again, things change when you watch things, watch movies more than once. And I think maybe going into it knowing what to expect, I might like it and analyze it in a different way than like waiting to be like scared out of my seat or anything like that. I don't know why I ever expect to be scared. It's so rare at this point, but I think I was also expecting more violence, gore, and just kills in general.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I got that out of it, but that's not the type of movie that it is. So
And it's funny because the people that like the Silence of the Lambs crowd that think that like they're getting more of like a straight kind of thriller,
they were
that
like not into it. Yeah, they're like, this is
that's
too
not it
scary.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say it just like because yeah, I mean, I think this movie has yeah, the scene that scared me the most of any movie this year so far, too. So yeah, I don't know. That's cool. I absolutely I get where you're coming from.
Oh, and then I don't actually have a second favorite. I guess by default it would be, or two favorites. I guess by default it would be Abigail because it has my second highest boo score after Late Night with the Devil. I would not put any of these movies in like a favorite category.
Yeah, so everything is below a 3 after those two movies.
Well, Abigail was 3.5. So
Oh, right.
there's a 3 out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now the fun part. Your least favorites.
Oh, I don't like being mean, talking shit, but I will.
I do.
Okay, so the two movies I was least impressed with this year, the first being Out of Darkness, which was the first horror movie I saw this year.
Oh, and I haven't seen that one. I don't even know what it's about.
So it is, it takes place hundreds of thousands of years ago. Like this is like, early human, like this
You did
is
tell me about this. Okay, you did tell me
yeah,
about this.
like, caveman type, so it's
Hmm.
like it's this, hunter gathering group. Um so it's like a family kind of, but like not everybody's related, but it's just kind of like a small group. Now, the interesting thing about this movie is that the writer and director came up, like wrote his own language for the characters to speak in this movie.
Which is
So it's
wild. That's so much work.
yeah. And I think that's where all the work went in because
It was distracting from everything else.
yeah, I think so too. Like I thought it was generally pretty boring. Of course, right? We're talking about darkness, so it's like, it's like
Dark. Is it dark?
and the way it ends, you're just kind of like eye roll, like, oh, okay, you know.
Hmm.
But and then too, I think as much as like there was like attention to like, maybe using whatever was available, to try to put together what this language would be and what it possibly could have sounded like back then.
Hmm.
Any other also very available information on like those groups of people like worked then, like
Hmm.
was not represented at all in this movie. It's like,
Oh, so it was like they were just acting like normal people of today with a different language?
well, I mean, especially when it came into like gender roles, like within this
Mm.
group, it was very like, no, that's not like how that was. And there's like actually like
Hmm.
enough like historical kind of like proof to challenge all of that, So it's just kind
Hmm.
of like, okay, you did a lot into this language and then put it into, I'd say, a pretty meandering film, in my opinion. So I would give that
Yeah.
1.5 boos, half a boo for that
Hmm.
language. Sure.
Okay, for the work they put in. That's a
No,
shame because it's an interesting concept. Like it's very original. Like I'll give this year that. There's a lot of original ideas that I think are floating around. I just maybe they're too original. But yeah, I based off of what you're telling me and my interest level in that time period, I'm probably never going to watch it. Um
that's fair.
okay. That's good.
My least favorite movie of this year, though. So something's getting less than 1.5 boos.
Oh.
And that also came out very early in the year, and that's Night Swim.
Oh, me too.
This movie was an absolute fucking chore to get through. And you know what? Like, and everybody at first nobody wanted to watch this movie with me because something came out just like, oh, it's just a baseball movie. It's
Which
not even
it's not.
horror.
I don't know why people say that. Like, there's a baseball player, yes.
Yeah, and it like has like these like weird Um, obviously green screened like weird flashbacks of like him playing for the Milwaukee Brewers, you
Yeah.
know. And it doesn't follow it, like I think I've said this before, like I like it can be dumb, but if it doesn't even try to follow its own dumb logic, then what are we doing? And
Hmm. Hmm.
it wasn't enough baseball for it to be a baseball movie. Here, I was like, yeah, I
But you would
love
have
baseball.
liked. Yeah, you were like, great.
I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch it and report back, you
He
know.
loves baseball.
And here I came back to you saying like, oh, barely has any fucking baseball in it. And then you're like, oh, well, okay, well now I'll watch it.
Yeah, that and fuck you because that's why I ended up watching it and it's also a one boo movie for me.
Sure, originality, haunted pool. I mean, I've seen some spooky pools before. So even that isn't the most novel idea, but you know,
Yeah.
one boo, wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, it is in my least favorites as well. It was so boring and so uninteresting. I fell asleep twice watching it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to power through this to make sure it's one of my least favorites. There was nothing interesting about that movie for me. I didn't think it was scary. The characters weren't interesting. So it's like, if it's not going to be scary, it at least has to be interesting and like, I want to know more. I didn't even want to know more. Like, I just wanted to see if there was any chance that it would get better. Like an orphan first kill situation where you're watching the first half and then you're like, whoa, what the fuck? This just turned into the best movie ever. Like,
Totally.
I was hoping that would happen with Night Swim. It didn't. And the only thing that I'll say that's positive about it, it definitely like visualizes some of my like big childhood fears of being in like a dark pool.
Mhm.
There's some shots that are really cool, but that's about it. Yeah, fuck Night Swim.
More like night sank.
That one was a stretch. Um, okay, those were you listed yours.
Yeah. Do you have another
Okay.
one?
I have one more. This one also might be a hot take, but one of my other least favorites, and I think it's because I really wanted it to be good, was In a Violent Nature. So I put this in my least favorites because I love the premise. I love the idea of this being from the point of view of this like Jason Voorhees type killer. But again, it kind of felt like I was watching like some sort of meditation or ASMR type video because it's a lot of walking, it's a lot of nature, it's a lot of birds chirping. It almost was like soothing. And so that Kyle's making a face like,
I just love that idea of like, you know, what's the market for Jason Voorhees ASMR? You know,
yeah,
all you
like,
hear is just boots crunching like on twigs in the woods, and then just skulls getting chunked by like machetes and shit. I like that.
yeah. So what I did like about it, I do think it had some really fun kills. And I love the parallels of him and like a Jason Voorhees type killer. Um, but it just felt flat for me. It felt very long. The acting was not great, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. Like I couldn't if it was intentional, it wasn't intentional enough for it to be like the audience was in on the joke. So that kind of spoiled it for me. And I also feel like this is one that people either like really, really loved or really hated, but it does have one of my favorite kills of the year. So I'll give it that.
And it's funny because I wonder which kill it is. I've got a guess because I think there's like two that
Yeah.
probably would qualify.
I think you know which one it is.
I think so too. But like, you know, I've alluded to this movie in earlier episodes too, where I'm like, when your whole thing about your movie is how gory and fucking wild these kills are, y'all watch From Beyond, watch Wishmaster, watch
Hmm.
fucking. There's a lot of movies where I'm like, they were doing shit way wilder than this,
Yeah.
like in
And they're
the 80s and
fun.
90s. Yeah, there's some fun
Yeah.
ones here, but I agree. Now, what's your boo score on this one?
I gave it two boos.
Okay, I give it three.
Mm.
I do like it better, but man, you're right. Oh, the teenagers, and again, like I think. I think watching it, I think it's intentional. And I get it, like that's probably just like whatever, just nonsense fucking like Jason is hearing, whatever fucking stupid shit these counselors are saying, you
Yeah.
know?
Like
Like
it's like, I don't even know what they're
but
talking
Jason
about.
doesn't give a
Kill
fuck,
them.
you know? But these are like this was just beyond bad. So I don't know how much they were really trying to be the absolute just like this is like worse than like Roger Corman level type of just bad acting, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like all of those like once you start getting into the depths of like the horror movies on Amazon Prime and you're just like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this looks like it was made like
Yeah.
friends that are acting and it's all so bad. It's like almost worse than porn acting, you know?
Yeah.
Um yeah, and then I'm just curious to see kind of what people feel on how it ends too,
Hmm.
because again, it's just hard with a lot of movies, especially horror movies. Like I think to stick that landing,
Yeah.
and I don't think this movie does. But I I'm gonna say three. I might come in a little lower. I don't know, but yeah, that's in my kind of middle of the pack. Like, but I
Hmm.
really was anticipating it quite a bit, not to the extent that I
Yeah.
was Abigail.
Yeah.
But you know, I
Yeah. I
hear you.
went into it with high expectations, but yeah, it was fine. Okay, let's share our boost scores for the ones that we didn't talk about.
We actually talked about almost everything I mentioned, with the
Oh, really?
exception, yeah, with
Stop
the except,
motion.
yeah. Let me finish. With the
Sorry.
exception of stop motion. Really fun. Definitely go see it. It is a very delicious nugget of, an
Hmm,
hour and a half
love
horror
that.
movie that is its own little world. Now, I
Hmm.
think it's a little bit of a stretch why this movie is like about stop motion animators outside of the fact that we just want to make creepy stop motion dolls. So like
I don't mind that.
we have to have a reason for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it almost operates like a cautionary tale, a fairy tale, a little bit like a
Hmm.
fucked up one. And I think that you watch the movie, and I think if you've seen enough of these, you're like, oh, I know where this is going, and I know how this is going to escalate, but it's still fun to watch the process.
Hmm.
They will tell this story, and as it's happening in real life, it'll also be mirrored through like a stop motion scene, kind of showing what's going on, and I think that's very effective and very creepy, and I like the artistry. But ultimately, it's fine. I could probably watch it another time, but it's very, yeah, very enjoyable, middle of the road. I give
Hmm.
that I gave that three boos.
Yeah, it's on my list of things to watch. I am very interested in seeing it. I just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so two of mine that are on this list that we didn't talk about that you haven't seen would be Tarot, which
Ugh.
I gave two boos. And the only reason why I didn't put it in my least favorites is because I think it was more fun to watch than Night Swim. Like it's almost so dumb that it's like that it's good, but it's not. But the monsters and creatures in that movie look really good. So
Okay.
it gets extra points for that. So I would say if you like dumb slashers with dumb characters and you're okay with like a little bit of like just really predictable cheesiness, watch it and you'll probably enjoy it. Um, but it's not going to be anyone's favorite movie for sure.
Mhm.
If they made a sequel, I'd watch it absolutely. And then the other one is Under Paris, which I gave three boos. I liked this movie, but I didn't love it. There's a lot of characters that are just really hard to enjoy, which makes it not in like a Micah Monroe way, like in a way that like I feel like a lot of people like would actually agree with me. Like I'm saying like people don't agree with me on Long Legs and It Follows. But for Under Paris, I think there's just a lot of like characters that just don't need to exist. But I gave this movie a whole extra boo for its ending. Like literally the last 2 minutes is it's worth watching the movie just to get to the ending. And if they made a sequel, I'd actually be excited. That's how much I like the ending. So
Okay.
I would say watch it if you like shark movies. Um,
Mhm.
lots of death, like lots of things going on, so that's really fun too. And then you missed Lisa Frankenstein, which we both saw.
Yeah. I was surprised you didn't mention that as one that you, yeah, on your list.
I know. Tell me what your boost score was for it.
So I still have a good boost score on this one. Again, right down the middle. I give it a 3, maybe a 2.5. But I I ultimately liked this movie. Now, is it horror? No, but yes. I
No.
mean, but if we're involving
It's horror
it,
comedy.
it's horror comedy.
Yeah.
Um, really budding industry legend, Catherine Newton.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I love
Between
her.
this, Abigail, which
Hmm.
she has one of my favorite segments in Abigail,
Yeah, me too. I know. I think I know which one you're talking about.
and also in Freaky, that one with for the guy that did Happy Death Day had Vince Vaughn
Hmm.
in it. It was
Hmm.
still fun. Wasn't as good as
Yeah.
Happy Death Day, still pretty
Yeah.
fun though.
But she's so good in it.
I thought this movie was pretty funny. I liked all the characters. I think it kind of worn out its welcome a little bit, like towards the end.
Hmm.
And then I don't want to spoil anything, but I think the movie really kind of fumbles where it ends and its message like really hard. I think it ends with a dud.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe 2.5, but a strong 2.5. I thought it was very watchable and I really liked it. And
Yeah.
I less problematic language than you normally see in a Diablo Cody movie. Um, but I think also I know, and it's lazy to make this comparison, but like, say to Jennifer's Body, I do think the movie will be received better as the years go on,
I agree.
you know.
Yeah. I I also gave it 2.5 boos, but again, I agree, like a strong 2.5 boos. I think because I watched it and then I kind of like forgot about it. Like when I was making this list, I had to like look up the movies that had come up this year and I was like, oh shit, Lisa Frankenstein. And I do think I'll like it if I watched it again, I would like it again like more. But I like the story. I like the characters. I really love her stepmom. Um, yeah, I forget the actress's name.
Carla Gugino.
She's great in that movie. Like she might be my MVP for that movie, but I like the silly like love story of it all and all of that. So I love a dark love story.
Yeah,
Um so yeah, I think Lisa Frankenstein is fun and if you like horror comedies, I would watch it. I'd recommend it.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So now movies that you have not seen that came out, they had to have come out before today that you would like to watch still. They're on your list.
Not a whole lot, but
Oh.
there's one that I am interested in watching called Oddity. It's an Irish
Yeah,
movie
that's on my
that
list.
looks pretty cool.
That like
Um,
just came out though.
I want to watch that. I don't think it's in theaters anymore though. Like it was really quick.
I
It's a
thought it
Shudder
came out on the
movie.
19th.
Yeah, but also it's like, I don't think it opened in that many theaters and
Oh, okay.
I know it's out of the theaters because I wanted to see it this weekend and it isn't available anymore.
Hmm.
So like maybe the closest one's down in like, like an hour away from me and I'm not going to do that. But
Yeah.
it's also a Shudder movie, so
Oh, so you can
it'll make
watch
its
it.
way.
Yeah, streaming. Okay.
Yeah, that one yeah, there's some of like the higher profile ones like that I just don't have any interest in. As much as I love Rennie Harlan, I don't really care to watch The Strangers Chapter 1,
Hmm.
nor do I care to watch the any of the other Strangers
It's just because
movies.
you're scared.
Yeah,
You're just
that's
scared.
true.
Home
And
invasion is
then
just not your category.
in my understanding is this new one is like essentially a retread of the first one.
That's
And
what I've heard. It's still on my list though. It's still on my list to watch it because I do want to watch chapters 2 and 3 because I want to see where those go.
yeah,
So I'll watch it.
I also didn't have any much interest in seeing the Quiet Place prequel.
Mm, no.
I saw the first one and it wasn't that enthused by it. I
Mm.
I skipped the second one, and I love the actress that stars in this one,
Mm.
and the reviews are really good. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll go see it. And then I just never brought myself to do it.
I
And
know it does have good reviews. I haven't seen any of the Quiet Place movies because between you and cousin Vinny, who I
Mhm.
typically trust his opinions unless it has to do with gore, he also said that those movies are just not super exciting. So that's yeah, it's not one that's on my list either.
Yeah, the rest of them I just didn't feel like I was really into. Like, like Immaculate, I don't really care that
Mm,
much. I don't really like religious horror. I don't
yeah,
like
we've talked about this.
I'm getting
Hmm.
vibes of pregnancy horror here, which I'm also not super huge
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
So I'm good. I don't care about Imaginary, though I'll probably
no.
watch it eventually.
Eventually I'd watch it, but it did turn me off a little bit that it's from the same people that did Megan, which
Yeah.
was kind of like we could have gone harder with this movie.
At some
Right.
point I'll want to watch Sting.
I forgot that one on my list. That one that yeah, I feel like that's gonna be a hard one to watch.
Yeah,
But
I hear there's a lot of pet death in that one, so that'll be
of
a
course,
lot for
anytime
me.
there's bugs involved and spiders, there's always pet death. That's your
Definitely.
list? It's
Yeah, it's
short.
my list. Yeah.
Okay. So I also had Oddity on there. I have stop motion on there.
Mhm.
I added I saw the TV glow per your boo score. The Strangers chapter 1 is kind of just like a check it off the list so I can get to the second and the third. But one that I'm really excited to watch and I just haven't watched yet, and I'm hoping my son will watch it with me because it's a shark movie, is No Way Up. So
Mm.
the reason why I'm waiting to watch it is because he's flying in a couple of days, so I didn't want him to watch it before he flew.
Sharks don't fly, Natalie.
That's the thing.
A Sharknado might. Yeah.
So I really want to see No Way Up. I think that's such a fun concept of an airplane being underwater and sharks being there. Like, come on. That's
Oh, okay. I didn't know about
Oh,
that.
you didn't know that? You didn't know what it's
No.
about? Oh my God. So yeah, it's that's what it's about. There's an airplane crashes, it's underwater, and then there's sharks involved. So
Oh,
I think
fuck.
it sounds really fun. Okay. This is my most exciting part since I think all of the movies that I am most excited to see are in the second half of this year.
Hmm.
So I want you to share first which ones you're very excited to see. You're most anticipated for round two of 2024.
It's funny because I don't have a whole lot. There's really only two I could come up with where
Ooh,
I'm like,
only
oh, I'll
two.
watch
Okay.
this. Really one and a half. The first one is, of course, I am all about fucking Nosferatu at the end of the year.
That one's not on my list.
I really like Robert Eggers,
Mm.
and the movies he's done. Of course, um, The Witch, The Lighthouse. Some people were,
I haven't seen The Lighthouse.
it's bonkers. I think you'd like it. It's really
Okay.
fun, and it's definitely bonkers. And he also did the Northman, which people are divided on. I liked on a first watch, but
Haven't watched
yeah,
that one either.
yeah, it's I like it. It's not horror though, but this one's going to be really fun. Of course, a little bit of like eye roll casting when you have the dude that played Pennywise playing Nosferatu
Mm-hmm.
here.
Bill
But
Skarsgård?
yeah,
I love him. Even like in prosthetics, I mean, a little different kind of love, but I'm for him getting roles in anything he can.
you would have walked yourself right into his Airbnb in Barbarian.
Absolutely.
Be like, why are we still talking? I don't need to know your name. I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
care.
even need to look at your phone, your app, your ID, nothing.
You're good.
Let
I'm
me
here.
in.
Let's
I'm
go.
spending the night.
Let's change those sheets. And I don't know. Okay, so Alien Romulus.
Mm.
Um Now,
Have you watched all of like leading up to this, all of them?
no, and that's
Neither
why
have
I'm
I.
like, I don't want to either. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
anything after Aliens, don't care. Do not care.
Oh, you don't like the third one?
No, or the fourth one.
I like the third one, but the fourth one is rough.
Yeah, the first two are perfect,
They,
perfect movies.
yeah.
And but I did see an Alien versus Predator. Does that count? So I've seen one.
I don't think it counts because it doesn't like fall into this like storyline per se. Like you could take it in or out and it wouldn't really matter. And
I
that
could be
movie
t
is not great.
I could be totally wrong, but I think Alien Romulus is also supposed to take place like back around the time of the first two movies, or maybe after that.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So maybe that explains why people are so excited about it because I haven't watched anything after the fourth one. I have watched Alien vs. Predator and I have watched the second Alien vs. Predator. And if
yeah,
you've
me
seen the
too.
first one and you didn't like it, the second one's better. It's really gross and really fun.
It's gross, sillier, goes for the R rating,
Yes.
yeah.
I accidentally let my son watch that because he's seen all the other Alien movies and I was like, "Oh, this is way darker than I thought it was going to be."
Yeah. So those two, and I don't know, like there's a few that are coming out. Like there's that remake of See No Evil,
Hmm.
which I don't have you seen the original?
I haven't seen the original and I don't think I want to watch it because I do like it's while See No Evil is not on my list, like I'll wait for it to be streaming before I would like pay to see it in the theater because the
Mhm.
trailers are really, really fucking cheesy. Like they really, I feel like all the best parts of that movie are in that trailer. So like how many times have we all seen that little boy do the little scissor motion in front of his mouth? Like we get it. You don't have a fucking tongue. We get it. Like
Yeah.
your dad cut it out. We get it.
And how
Um,
much I just hate that fucking Cotton Eye Joe song so
oh
much.
gosh, yeah.
I hate it.
So yeah, it's not on my most anticipated, but I will watch it for sure. Have you seen the original?
Yes. So actually just recently.
Oh,
And
did you like it?
yeah, I liked it. Um, and as much as I didn't like the first Smile movie, I do like that trailer for that second one. It
Yeah,
is
I do
pretty
too.
good. And I do like that actress, Naomi Scott. I
I've never seen her in anything. Her face and her, like, the way they have her dressed in that movie, like, alone makes me want to see that movie. There's something about, I think she's just fucking mesmerizing to look at.
she's very beautiful.
Yeah, she's like enchanting. But Smile 2 is on my list, and I didn't care for Smile either, but I think they're gonna do a better job with this
I,
one.
I think so too. So I'll put
Yeah.
that as my honorable mention of kind of, yeah, I'll watch it, even though I
Okay.
shouldn't. How about you?
Okay, well, Smile 2, obviously. That one is on my list, but I put mine in order of like most to least interested because I'm organized as fuck. So my most anticipated, of course, is Terrifier 3. I'm very excited for it. I probably wouldn't have been, I don't know, like how long ago, but I watched Terrifier 2 again not that long ago and I was like, this movie is fucking nuts. And I just have no idea what to expect from the third one. So I think because Art the Clown actually scares me, and I think the actor who plays him does such a good job of miming. Um, I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited to see some good fucking bonkers gore too. Like it's not always my like thing. I don't like seek it out, but because I know that those movies have it and it like they're entertaining enough to watch, so you get both, that makes me excited for it.
Hmm. I wonder if the gore is going to be as effective. I know it'll be wilder than the gore in A Violent Nature, but I wonder how effective it is.
Yeah.
So in my humble opinion, that first Terrifier movie, forgettable. Don't care.
Story wise and acting wise, I agree, but I love art so much that that like carries it for me.
And the movie, I don't know, I just struggle a lot with where it directs its violence a lot, you know? And especially in the first one, I think that there's some course correction in the second one, even though there's some pretty wild parts. I think of just like that woman in her house in the bedroom. But then at that point, it all just becomes just this it's
It's
all
just
just
meat.
red meat, gross all over. Like there's
Hmm.
no like I don't know. So like I think that's where I don't get like it doesn't feel like there's no tension in there, you know? It's I like the character. I like the little girl even better.
Yeah, she's
She's
fun.
really fun in that second
Hmm.
one. I hope she's
I think she's back. I think she comes back.
and I'll watch it because it's a Christmas movie. And
Although it does come out in October.
yeah, but so we'll have to rewatch it again in Christmas around Christmas. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I hear you. I don't know if I'm as hot on those movies as other people are. See, I feel like that's my
Hmm.
hot take is those movies where I'm
I
kind
don't
of
think
like,
so
yeah,
at all. I think it's very much,
they treat that dude like he's this like second coming of like, you
yeah.
know, like this is new horror or like we're bringing
Well,
back what was really great about the 80s. I'm like, he
but
brought back a
that's,
lot of bad stuff too.
I think that's the thing about it is like, there's a mixed entertainment level for me with those movies. Like, there are definitely things that I don't like about them, but there's enough fun in them. Like, I'm not like rewatching it all the time. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend those movies to anyone that didn't like if someone was like, "Oh, I fucking love gore like so much," then I'd be like, "Yeah, watch Terrifier." But I wouldn't
No.
recommend it to anyone. Like, I like to watch them just to see. I like to be shocked. I like to be grossed out every now and then. And because Art is a villain that I like, it's more fun, like for
Yeah.
me, because I wouldn't put him in like the best horror villains because I think you also have to have the best movies to like the most entertaining movies to fit into that category. But I just want to see what fucked up shit he's gonna do next. Like I'm just so curious, like to feel like a fly on the wall while this clown is just wreaking havoc on people.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
that's my draw to Terrifier 3. This one is a little bit unexpected, and I don't know if it fits into the horror category, but I got to give a shout out to my boy Josh Hartnett for that movie Trap. It looks so dumb that I think it might actually be kind of fun. Have you seen a trailer for it?
I've seen the trailer for it. Of course, I like the
There's got to be a twist since they already revealed to you that he's the fucking killer.
I mean, with any of those M. Night Shyamalan movies, even if it looks mildly interesting, you go into the movie and it's a letdown every single
Really? You
time.
think so? I think most of his
Yes.
movies are fine.
I don't know. I didn't see the last one with the kid
Which
from
one?
Harry Potter in it and where it's like the end of the world and they're at that cabin.
Oh, A Knock at the Cabin.
Right.
That one.
And
I watched that. That's not a horror movie. It's very much well, it's very violent. I will say that. Like, it's extremely violent, but it's not really a horror movie. It's kind of it feels kind of sci-fi-ish.
sci-fi, yeah. And
Hmm.
I thought the
And
beach
that was
movie was
okay.
dumb.
Oh, Old.
Yeah.
It was dumb, but I had fun watching that.
And that one that had all the people from that found footage movie about the creepy grandparents that had the kids from Better Watch Out.
I don't think I saw that one. I don't
Mm,
even know what it was called. But I'm not a huge fan of his, but I think I just got really excited just to see Josh Hartnett on the big screen again. Like
yeah, me too.
that's exciting and I just kind of want to see where it goes.
M. Night Shyamalan's daughter has a movie, that one with Dakota Fanning called The Watchers. You have any interest in
Mm,
that? I don't.
not really. It looks like because it's based on a book.
Mm,
And those movies are always really hard because everybody who's read the book is going to shit on it. And so it's any movie I feel like that's based off of a book, unless it's 50 Shades of Grey. Everybody like will just shit on those movies. So it's always hard to tell when like no offense, but when readers go to movies, you're not going to get the same experience. Y'all need to just realize that. Like reading a book and seeing a movie are two totally fucking different things. So even if it's the same characters, the same story, you're going to have a different experience with it and you just kind of have to accept that. But I don't even remember what I was talking about. Now I'm just popping off on readers.
oh, talking about The Watchers.
The Watchers. I think it seems like an interesting story though.
Hmm.
I don't know. I probably won't ever watch it, to be honest. So I will not
Y'all,
be a watcher.
yeah, there you go. That's if y'all have seen this, let us know in our DMs if it's any good. We should
Yeah,
check it out.
yeah. And then my last one, and I'm only putting this on here because I'm definitely going to see it, even though I'm actually not that excited, is Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Oh, right. You're right. Sorry, that
I'm
counts.
more
And
scared to see it than excited because I think I just need to go into it just expecting it to be awful
yeah,
and just know that like Michael Keaton and Catherine O'Hara will probably knock it out of the park no matter what they're given. Um, but I'm going into it with a really, really low bar, and I'm actually not super excited about it. I don't tend to like sequels that come out decades after a movie's release. It's hard to recapture that magic.
I agree. And again, all these like, legacy sequels or whatever,
Hmm.
it's like, I don't know, it's almost always diminishing returns.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's this one called Heretic with Hugh
Mm.
Grant, right? Who knows, whatever.
I'm interested in that just because I like the idea of Hugh Grant being a villain.
Yeah. And I will watch The Front Room only
What is
because
that one? I don't even think I've seen a trailer for that.
it's the new horror movie starring Brandy.
Mm. I almost put that on my list just because of Brandy, but like
Just
it
because of
looks
Brandy.
yeah, it
Nothing
looks
else looks
like
good.
a movie you've seen before, maybe on Lifetime.
Yeah.
I just like the premise of Brandy as a black woman having to deal with her racist like mother-in-law, like that in itself, that would be interesting even if it wasn't horror.
I think
So
Brandy's just getting her feet wet, just getting ready for that call for that new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are mine. Any other movies that we didn't talk about
No, I
that come
think
to
we
mind? I feel like we covered a lot of them, actually. You're
I think so
welcome,
too.
everyone.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. And if there's anything I'm forgetting, it's probably because I'm either forgetting or
It's not worth remembering.
not worth remembering. That's also
Mhm.
true. So yeah, definitely love to hear what other people's thoughts are, what they're looking forward to, and what
I
they've liked so
know.
far.
I also would, and like I'm totally open to people like tearing up my opinions as well. Like you can't hurt my feelings, I fucking guarantee it. So I'm like, go off. And I'm really curious to hear what everyone thinks of Long Legs. I think for the most part everyone loved it except for me, but I would like I'll post a poll of if you're team Kyle or team Natalie, and I'll just see myself lose horribly on that one.
There is a post that I saw like on Threads or something or whatever, but um it was a picture of JD Vance. And if y'all know who that dude is at this point, um, and it was like, this is the type of person that says long legs is boring and they didn't get it. And I was like, see, that's validating because the people who are saying they're fucking bored and they didn't get
Wow.
it are the people that just didn't get it.
Wow. I think I got
Shots
it, but
fired
was
at you.
bored. Yeah.
Shots fired at you, Natalie.
Okay. Okay. Well, also I want to know what everyone else is really excited to see. Um, so share all of those things with us.
If you have some compelling thing that will make me rethink Night Swim, please try me.
Yeah, did anyone like Night Swim? If you liked Night Swim, please make yourself known so that
We
we
can,
can make fun of you.
yeah.
No, not really. Okay. I think that's it.
Dang.
You'll
All
wait for
right.
the last 6 months.
Dang, that's exciting stuff. Really looking forward to seeing what the end of the year brings. And then, of course, if you're not super hot on the movies that are coming out this year, who fucking needs them? Just watch the movies that we're covering.
Yeah, watch all the
There you
old
go.
shit. We know what the good old shit is, so like take it back. Why not? I'm
100%.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it will be more fun to talk about the latter half of the year because the movies that we're excited about that we've shared, then we get to actually share like how it really went
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. 3, 2, 1, Ghost. Thanks for listening to our mid-year review of 2024 horror. If you've been enjoying our podcast, subscribe and leave us a killer review on whichever platform you choose to listen. You can find us on Instagram at 321GhostPod and give us a follow. We're very active on Instagram and would love to hear your thoughts on these films in our DMs or in the comments. You can shoot an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any thoughts, questions, or let us know if you'd like us to cover more new releases. Next week, get ready to know 11-year-old Kyle a little better because we're discussing I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Thanks again for listening to our podcast, and remember, we'd love to hear your boost scores too. 3, 2, 1, Ghost.